So let's start with entity. So basically, entity framework is something which follows ORM, which is Object Relational Mapping Framework, right? Where all the tables and the relations between tables will be mapped as an object classes, right? Object classes in application, and so that will be using data sets of entity, so which are predefined or which we normally get from in the framework entry, right? So where it automatically creates all the tables classes, right? Where if you have a database and you have got tables, right, and if you use entity framework, it will actually create all the tables, all the classes, whatever to whatever database we are actually pointing to. And also, entity framework have got capability to do reverse way, where you define all the classes and then your entity framework will actually create all the tables for you in the database, whatever in the database pointed by you. Or even it will actually generate the database and the tables based on model classes defined. So entity framework work in both ways. Either you can actually start from creating database tables and then work. So as of now, what we have done, we have actually created the schemas. Now, when I say schema, right? Schema is nothing but the tables which we created in database. And each table in database is a schema, right? And when we say database objects, your database tables, your database SPs, whatever we have defined, are called as different DB objects, right? So what we have done, we have actually defined the DB objects, right? And then we actually created an area-oriented program with a connection string and different steps, right? So here, using entity framework, yes, we can do this, but we don't have to remember the connection strings and do connections. It will be a bit modernized, so that you can actually work through model classes and their objects to directly access the database, right? So in general, to get data from multiple databases, right? So what we used to do, so we used to write classes, right, for tables, right, and we used to write the code for area.net, right, to create a SQL connections and all, right, and we used to create a dataset objects, right, to read data, right, and we used to process this. So all these steps, right, for every time you want to create something, that you have to actually follow all this, right? To process it. But entity framework will do all of this for us. So whenever we create an entity framework and whenever we map to database, right, so it will actually create all these things at one shot. It will create all the classes that we create. So everything for us. Right? We'll see how we can actually how it actually creates that for us. Fine. So now let's start how we can actually install entity framework in here. So normally entity framework is a separate platform which we have provided by Microsoft, right? So for installing entity framework, we will be using something called NuGet packages. Now, what is NuGet package manager? Right? So NuGet package manager is an open source which is used by Microsoft, where using this Modal package manager you can actually get all the whatever features you want to install, including Visual Studio. You can actually get it through Modal packages. So whenever you install Visual Studio, right? So including this Visual Studio, you will not get NT framework installed by default. You have to actually download that and install in your Visual Studio, right? So to do that, you don't have to actually download it separately. We have something called Modal packages. Now, first step, if you don't have Modal package manager itself, right? You can actually go to tools here. So let me close all. If you go to tools, you have something called extensions and updates, right? So you can see I've already done. I already have a Modal package manager, right? So you can see the option here. Otherwise, you can click on extensions and updates, and you have the Modal package manager, right? So we have this, so you can actually install it. So it will actually download and install your package manager. Now once you have your Modal package manager, now it means you are ready to download any platform provided by Microsoft or any third-party software which is supported by Visual Studio, right? You can download everything from like jQuery, right? If you have any other stuff. So we'll actually see how you can actually do that now. So initially, let me create a new project first. Let me call it as just application. Let me just I'm just giving some project name here. So here, this is my project. Let me make it as a sort of project. So here. So as of now, you can see that this project doesn't contain the libraries of my entity framework. Right? So let me right click on this, and you can see you have manage Modal packages. Right? Click on that. So there are a few different ways how you can actually install. Right? You can actually see all installed packages if you have any. Or you can actually go online to the Modal.org, because this is something where Microsoft has already exposed its published application which is supported for Visual Studio. Right. Also, you can see, including this entity framework, we have JSON, jQuery. Right. There are so many, software which whatever are supported by Visual Studio, you can direct it. You can see Windows, Azure, storage, right? So you don't have to separately download and set up and install. You can do that, but mainly you can go for Modal packages so that it will actually get a right, the latest one for you. Now, as said, you can see we have the entity framework package here, right? And you can see we will be using the 6th one, which is the latest version of entity framework version we have. Right? So you can click on install. So you can see it is downloading the framework. Right now it is asking for whether to use it or not. Let's say I'm clicking on I accept. Now you can see once it gets installed, right, you can see that you get a directory code here, right, package on install. So in this project, you can see that I have installed only one package as such, right? And you can actually go ahead and install any number of new application based on your requirement. And let's click on close. Now you can see as soon as the installation is done, right, in your application you can see two main libraries will be the entity framework, and you can see your entity framework SQL Server mainly will be added, right? Also, if you go to your project folder, let me open up this part folder, right? Says intro. You can see a separate folder called packages will be created, right? And these packages will be a single folder for different packages. I mean, as of now, we have actually installed only entity framework, right? Now you can see in packages we will have an entity framework with all the libraries in it. You can see in entity framework we have a link which is the entity folder, and you can see so entity framework supports 6.x version supports, let's say, .NET 4 and .NET 4.5, right? And that's the reason why you can see there are two different folders, .NET 4.0 and .NET 4.5. I'll show you where exactly is mapped in our Visual Studio. So now let's go to 4.5. You can see there are libraries here, entity framework and the SQL Server framework, and also in 4.0 we have, right? So these are the libraries which actually are referenced over here. So if you want to confirm, just right click on this library and go to properties. Now you can see here, right? It is going to code into packages, right? Entity framework, and you can see, you can see net 4.5 because the application which we created is 4.5 version, right? And then it is mapping to this SQL Server. Now, so these are DLL or library path. Now, if you go to configuration, right? Until now we haven't discussed about configuration ever, right? Now we start understanding the configuration. So configuration file is nothing but, so this is something where a single point of or single file where, so this will not be compiled or this will not be built, right? So this will stay as is because it's a raw XML file. Sorry, so the raw XML file, right, where we have tags and values, right? So all these tags and values are understandable by the .NET application, right? Wherein for your console application you have app.config, and it understands the app.config, right, which is application.config. Now you have, when we go to web application, it will be web.config. So for every type of applications, you have the configuration files where you can set some configurations and you can change configurations after deployment. If you want to change anything, you can actually change the configurations. Right? So initially, whenever you create any project, right, you will have just a framework mapping, right? But as soon as you add an entity framework, right, now you can see your entity framework tag in called added this one, right? And you have all the provider SQL clients, right? We'll be watching out these things as we go on with this, right? So this configuration will be happening. Right? Now, so let's go back here and see how we can actually now entity framework in the platform is installed in our project. Now we can actually use it. Fine. Now let's go to the here you can see I have a database. Now let's see which database I can connect to. So we have created a school, right? Now here we have created only students. Now I only have a database called college, so let's use this. Now here you can see I have a college database, right, where I have a students. Let me just right click and set. Right, you can see you have set top students. So you have roll number, student name, address, phone number, and grade them, and I have some data rate. Now here, same way you can see I have academics, right? The academics over here, and I have sports, right? So as of now you can see my sports in this black. But you can see that when I open up students, right? So these are main table I have where a roll number is a primary key, right? Now students and academics are related. If you go to this, now you can see roll number is a key which is primary key and also a foreign key, right? So if you want to check the relation, right, you can see, right click on this, go to design, right click on a table and go to design to check all the relations. So here roll number, you can see that it's a lock right here which represents there is a relation and some constraint. Right click on this and go to relationships. Now you can see there is one foreign key with academics and students. These are main areas, right? Now if you want to specifically go and see, you can click on tables and column specifications, click on that. Now you can see there is a students table, column is not roll number with academics with roll number. So these two are related here. Right? So this is how you can create a foreign relation between two tables. And also if you go to sports, go to design, sports contains roll number and the sport. Right click and go to relationships, you can see a foreign key. Right, foreign key, sports and students. Go to table specifications, you can see as in sports, roll number is reference to roll number in students. That's how it works. And for actually referring any foreign key from one table, right, the primary table should have the same column, the same data type, and that column should be a primary key in the primary table. Right? So that's how we define the relations. Now, these are three. We have students, sports, and academics. Now, if you go to students design, right? If you remember, this design window is something which we have already seen when creating table, right? Now, while creating table, we give columns and everything, right? And if you want to add primary key, you know that you just right click on this and say set primary key. But anyways, as this is already primary key, we have it enabled, right? And you can see there are no other direct relations where we are actually mentioned here, but you can see students have got two relations, right, with academics and sports. Go to academics again, go to this, and you can see same relation unified, right? Because the relation should be defined with the child table and also with the parent table. Because whenever you delete and recall from one table, right, it should actually understand that it has to delete details from the related tables also. So this is a relation which we take. Now in the same college table we have one store visitor, get student details. So here it gets all the details of students. So where we have defined two parameters. So we have already seen this part in our college, right? We can define some parameters and we can use them. But actually I'm not using, but we can actually enable this to use. No issues, but we have SP. We'll see how to actually see how we are getting all the classes of tables, right? And how we can actually scope reserve from the entity table. Right? But now let's connect this database with our entity model. Now to actually create an entity model here, so I click on your project and go to add new item. Now here you have all options. Either you can actually select your, you can see you have the area document integrator model in all, or if you want to filter out specifically, you can see here and click on data. Now this data will give you a specific, specific options which are related to data. Right? Now you can select your area.net entity data model. And now you can see you have an option to give a name. Let's say I'm going to give it as college model.media. Right? Entity data model, right? Which is a UMS extension data. Click on add. Now, as soon as you click on add, you get a result, right? Where you have options whether you want to generate your entity model from database or you want an empty model. So we will see empty model in our upcoming classes. So let's generate from database now. Right? So select this option, click on next. Now here you can actually specify the connection string. So as I've already created so many connections, right? So I can see this. But if you don't, if you are actually setting up your project and entity for the first time, you may get it blank. So don't worry about it. Right? So click on new connection here. And if you know the server name, you can mention it, or else just click on drop down. So when you click on drop down, so your this wizard window will actually get all the servers what server is exposed to your network, right? And wherever the SQL server node is present. Now you can see as of now it is getting only 2 because these are the 2 nodes which you can get from my local, right? And I'm selecting my node, which is MSSQL. You can see that is the same server I have, right? In my actual server name is machine name is you have the Srinath-YO, right? And the SQL server node is MSSQL 2012. The same thing we got it here, right? And we have same authentications, right? As we have already seen, if your database is SQL server authenticated, then you can use username and password. Or if it is a Windows authenticated, then you can actually Windows authenticated and you can move on. Now once it is done, then you have the option to select database, right? Because we have many databases. You can see your college, my office, school, right? And you can also get some system databases here. You can see you have master, you have model, MSD, 10, right? You have many, these are default DBs being created whenever you install your SQL system, right? Now here, if you know the database name, you can type on or click on drop down. And when you click on drop down, it will actually get all the databases which are planted in this server. Then you can see we have all the databases, school, office, and all. Let me select college. Right? So this is my database I want to use. So if you want to test, you can click on test connection. This is succeeded, right? Because if you click on test connection, right, it will give you test connection succeeded, right? And it says, okay, my details, whatever I've selected, are okay, right? And now let me click on OK. So this will give me the new connections. You can see the college.dpo where my server name is YO and MSSQL 2012. And it will generate a connection string for you. You can see we have already seen a connection string where we have constructed our own connection string. And what is connection string? Connection string is contains different elements of your database, right? Like database server, database name, database and database information and the credentials and everything, right? And you can see the same. Now in this connection string, we have already seen this part. if you remember, right? Where your data source is so and so, your initial catalog is your database name, and your integrated security is true or something else, right? This part we have already seen. And the same thing, our entity framework, model, entity data model wizard will actually create for us. And it is asking us whether to save this configuration in our application config or not. Right? I'll say yes, and also we can see with what name we want to save the connection string. So let me give this as college DB context. So we'll understand why I'm doing this name. Right? So previously, before actually I mentioned this name, it was college entity, right? But I'm actually changing the name as college DB context. Because with the name I actually create a connection string over here, right? So the main class, the main trigger class of our entity data model will be created the same name. That's the reason why I'm giving as a common name here. When I say DB context, your college DB context will be the tag name for your connection string, right? And also your class will be generated with the college DB context. That's the reason why I gave this. Now click on next. Now here you can see it will retrieve all the DB information. You can see it will retrieve all the DB information, like you can see there are all tables, sports, academics and everything, and also the stored results. Let me click on tables and SPs. I want everything to be in place. Right? And you can see what is the namespace model you want to give. If it says college model, you can actually move if you want to as this. Now, after this you can see there are a few other options over here. Right? Your tables are selected on, your SPs are selected on. Now you can see include following key columns in the model. If there are any relations between tables and all, please include them. Now when we click on this, right, how does it map each and every table? Right? We'll see that part. We'll see how it is actually being mapped internally. Right? Now let me click on finish. Now when you click on finish, it will actually create a model classes, and it will create so many model classes. Your context class, your schema mapping class, or your class diagrams. You can see it is giving the output like what exactly it is creating. Now you can see the schema. So this is a model browser. It actually is showing. Now we have created an entity model.tdms. So this is a solution where you can see your model, which is your data model got created, right? Which is your college model.tdms, right? And you can see for your college model.tdms, this is a model browser. This model browser is specific to your entity model file here, where you can see your college model store. You can see all the tables, right, and all the SPs, and if you have any constraints, you can see the foreign key constraints, right? You can see it here. So these are direct your database store we have, right? But if you go to your classes, right, where you can see you have your different tables already defined, which are entry types, and you have your complex types area, SPs, right, and you have your context here. You have your context defined. Now this is something which will give you a high level of all model in the store information. And you can see there is a schema class diagram which will get generated for the schema we have. Now you can see we have a student table, and it actually created a student class diagram here. Now these class diagrams are actually generated from here. Now you can see here that you have students in the college model, right? You can see you have an academic, right, student. Now in student class you can see that you have roll number, student name, address, phone number, creation date type. All these are nothing but your columns in your student table. Let's go to that. Now you can see this is student table, right? You can see roll number, right? Student name, address, phone number and all. Now you can see the same name, the column, whatever column you have will be a variable here. And based on data, you can see roll number is integer. Now you can see if you create a variable with roll number or a property, which is getSet property. You want to see this getSet. If you remember in our encapsulation, you will see this getSet, which is a property, right? With a roll number here. And you have all the things defined. And also you can see for a student, he can have academic and sport, right? Now this is defined because student is like parent and a student can have academic and sport details. Same way, if you go to your academic model, now you can see in your academics, right? So we have roll number, marks and leaves taken. Same you can see roll number, marks and leaves, and you can see a student, right? Because your student is counted to your academic here, right? Same way, if you go to sport, you have same, right? So this is how it is. Your model classes will be generated. Right? These are nothing but your model classes, right? For each schemas. And for these classes, your class diagram will be created. You can see the student class. You have a student entity here, where you have roll number, student name, and everything. And navigation property, it has the student have got academic and a sport. Same way, you can see academic. And your navigation is your student and then relational. Same as sport. Right? So this is how you can actually get your schema. Now we are ready to go to actually retrieve data and see how it is going to work. So before that, let's go to one step. Let's go to context class and see how it is created. Now there is one more class which is important, is your college DB context. If you can see, we were actually talking about this, which is college DB context. Now let me open the configuration file too, which is app.config. Now here you can see it will actually create a new tag called connection string, and your connection string is a predefined tag in configuration file in .NET, right? Where if you define your connection strings, right, internally in your code you will be able to read this connection string name, because in connection strings you can define any number of connection strings, right? Anyways, as of now we have only one. Now you can see the name of this connection string is a college DB context, and you can see, it actually auto-generated your connection string, where you can actually see this part. Right? Data source is your SQL Server node data, and then your catalog is your database, and your security is too integrated, which means you have your Windows authenticated. Right? So in this way you have your connection string ready, and this connection string is used over here. You can see you have your college DB context, which is enumerated from your DB context. So this is a main class in entity framework which does everything for us. Now you can see your DB context is a class in system.data.entity, right? So remember, your DB context class is a main class in your system.data.entity which makes all possible, right, to retrieve data or do different stuff, right? And in the individual constructor you can see by default, even if you don't mention your constructor, right, your DB context, right, let's say I haven't defined this, right, but don't actually do any manual changes to your code. But if you are more, if you are confident and if you know that it will work even if you do some changes, go ahead. There is no harm in it. Now if I don't define this constructor, right, now how does my DB context knows to which database to connect? It will automatically get the connection string whose name is same as your class name, right? Now that is reason why college DB context here and your college DB context name here is same. that's the reason why a PV context class will actually get to know that, okay, I have to consider the connection string to this thing. Now, second part. If you know that your connection string name is different from your class context class name, right? Then you can give in this way. You can define a constructor where you can call your base class. Now, if you remember, so this is if you use a scope resolution operator and a base, which means you are calling your base class constructor. And your base class constructor, you have multiple, we have multiple overridden constructors. One is default constructor, which will take your attribute, this class as a connection string name, or you can actually provide a name. You can see I'm providing college DB context itself as a name. I need to understand that, okay, I have this context which is same to the connection string. So this will actually make my DB context class clear that, okay, you have to use the connection string name college DB context. Right? So that is the importance of this context class. So we normally call this as a context class. So this is a context class which we will be using, which is a main key to actually do different operations. Now in this context you can see we have a DB set. The DB set actually defines that this will actually create a object properties for your table model classes. You can see here academic, sport and student, which are designed as the DB set classes. Right? And you can see your SP, which is a stored result. We'll come to this calling of this later. But you can see your stored result will be created as a function whose arguments are same as parameters we have. You can see roll number, name and flag. Then you can see if you go to your SP in your college DB, right? You can see roll number, name and flag. So these will be created as a parameters for it. And you can see we have something called output, which is a result, right? You can see what output I am getting here. I am saying set star from students, right? Which means I will be getting output of all students table columns, right? Now go to this class. Again, this is a separate class. You can see in my college mode itself I have sp underscore so and so underscore result. Now this is my class. And you can see I have roll number, student address, and all the columns of my student are here. Right? That's how it actually works. Right? Now this is something which is your context class and all the DB model classes. Now before start using this, right? Now let's say if there is any change. If there is any change to my database, let's say, if there is any change in my database, then how to handle it? Let's say in my database I don't have this flag, sorry, in my SP, anything, in your stored result you have changed something, or in your table schemas you added a column, or whatever it is. And I'm just doing a simple change here that, okay, you have your, I have changed the roll number here, and let me execute it. Right? Which means I have changed it to one database object, right? And the change is in SP where I have only 2 parameters. Now will this work? It will definitely not work, because you can see whenever it is executing the SP, right? Whenever it is executing the stored result, it is trying to push 3 parameters. But my SP accepts only 2. It will not work. Now how to refresh, or how to actually sync my data model with the database? You can do that. You don't have to recreate it. You have the option to do that. You can right click on this college model, open it. So we have seen model designer, right? Click on OK. And you can see this is a model designer we have, right? Now here was your stored result, right? Where you can see flag, name and roll number was inputs, right? So now let's refresh this with our latest DB schema. right click and you can see that update model from database. Click on update this. Now you can see it says there are no new objects, no new tables as such being created, right? But if there are any changes, it will refresh automatically. Click on finish. Right? So now it actually refreshed my data. Now let's go back to our SPs. Now you can see we have only name and role. Right? It actually updated. Now if you want to check, go back to your model context. Now you can see we have your context class here. So I have to save this, right? Save it up. So I'll refresh it and I have to save so that all my settings, whatever I have received, will be changed. And now you can see we have roll number and name. Right? So we have, by executing your recipe, now you can see your saved with your roll number parameter and name parameter. Right? So this is something where we have your changes in this field. Now, let's say you have a change in the table itself, right? And when I say change in table, let's say some column name change or anything, or a data type change or anything, you have same option, right? You can just right click on the model and you can say update model from data. Now, this option, you will get this option only in your model browser here, right? You won't get it here to update. You have to go to model browser. Now let's say if you don't have model browser open, right, in your option, you can always go to view. So in view, you have go to other windows and you have here entity data model browser. Click on this, right? You get this browser, and you can write it and update. You can update it and you want, right? If there are any new objects, it will actually get it or else. Now if you want to keep this as is, click on this and put it over here. So that you can walk through your model browser properties solution. Right? So this is how we actually create our model, data model, right? Using entity framework, right, where all classes and everything are. Now we can see, let's see how fast we can actually work with data. Now here let me just so let's say we'll see today, for today we'll see I want to get all the data which are in my students table, let's say. So I want to get data which are my students, let's say I want to get everything whatever are in my students table. Let's see how to do it. Now, as I said, for any operation you want to do, you have to first consult your college DB context class. Let me create object of this. Let's say it is college DB context is equal to new. Now here, as soon as you create an object, right? So you can see in your college DB context, it will actually create a connection to a database and you can keep it ready. So that is the significance of this one single line. And now what I want to get, I want to get the student details, all student details I'm looking for. How can I do that? I can do DB context, right? We have dot access students, that's it. Now these students will give you all the details of your students table. But how to actually map it? Let's say as I am going to get list of students. Now this students is nothing but this will give you can see it will give you a set of student details where you can see your student, one record will have your roll number, student and all, right? But you will be getting multiple records. So what I will do, I will be holding the main list, let's say. Student, let me call it as STU is equal to students dot to list because I will be converting this. Now this one line will actually trigger database, get all the student details and it will say equals true. That's it. Now let's try to map it. So here you can see that, let me call it as a student item in collection. What is the collection? We have a student, right? So your list of students will have multiples. Now you can see let me print them console dot right line of. Now when I access item dot, now you can see you have all the whatever columns are there in student, you can see as properties. Now the first is the number. I'll print the roll number, right? And let me use some space over here. Yes, right? And then you have your, let me copy this up. Right, you have roll number and you have your student name, you can see, right? And now you can see your phone number, your address, right? And your grade data. Let's look to here. Right, you can see all the columns whatever you had in phone number, student name, address, phone number, grade data. You have, see how quick we have actually consumed the DB context and got all the details of students and I'm printing it. And let me write console dot read. Let's run this. Now you can see you got all the details you want. Right? You have a roll number, your student name, your phone number. Okay, this is not address we have taken, it's an academic here. Let me just change it to address. We'll see this other in later. Sorry, that is the address. Right, you can see roll number, name, phone number, your address, and created time. You can see that we haven't used any function, we haven't used any command, we haven't used any reader, or we haven't used any data set or data wrapper or anything. In one shot, we just added a data entity model and we have everything in our place. Right? So this is how we actually get the data. Now you can see for a student, right, if you have any academic details, right, obviously we know that for the student you can have academic details, right? Where, let me close all. Close this one, and let's say I'm going to do this, and let me go and get this academics and also sports. Now you can see a student one will have some academics, right? Now how can I get it? So you don't have to go in, you can actually get it from here itself. You can see, yes, let's say if it will actually give you only one side actually. Now you can see you have item dot academic, right? You can see this, right? Where it is giving leaves, marks, roll number and all, right? So let's say I'm going to take this. So here, let me take academic dot, we have marks, academic dot leaves, right? Let's stop here because we have marks and leaves. Let's run this. Now you can see for that student, just press enter. For that student, you have marks and this one is going off. Right, you have your name, everything, created, and you have your marks and leaves, number of leaves. You can see for one we have 95.3. You can cross check it. For one we have 95 and For fourth student, you can see 68 marks and 3 leaves. You get the 68 marks and 3 leaves. And it will be mapped directly. Right? So this is how we can actually get details from it. Now this model, whatever we have actually created right now, is something which is called as a model first approach. Sorry, schema first approach. Now schema first approach is nothing but we have created a schema first, DB schemas, right? Everything was ready, and then we created our model. So that is something which is called as your, whatever you have seen till now is the schema first approach. Right? So this is the approach which is a straight way from database tables to the retrieval part we have seen. So in this schema approach itself, tomorrow we'll see different operations. Now today we have seen the retrieval operation, but tomorrow we'll see inserting bingo. How can I insert new data? How can I update data or delete data from these tables now using my entity framework? Right? That part we'll see in our next class.